What is up, everybody? This is Defatank, and you are watching ESO Recapped, episode number 25. The episode is brought to you by Great Architect. We are a multi-gaming community. As most of you know, I do run the Elder Scrolls Online division of that community, the administrator of it, and run about 7 other guilds under the community. Myself, I run the Great Architect Guild within ESO, and we do, as I said, have about 7 other guilds that have their own guild leaders. So if you guys are interested in joining up with our community, head over to greatarchitect.us. Feel free to go ahead and apply, and join in with the fun we got going over here. For tonight, for this episode, I'm going to be covering 3 main points. We're going to be talking about the console pre-order information, the question that came up last Saturday about what if I buy the console version of the game, or pre-ordered it already, but I want to partake in the PC Mac transfer. So I'm going to give you guys that answer. That has been answered. Patch 1.2.3 that was dropped this week, and we're also going to talk about what you guys can expect to see with Veteran Rank Dungeons, one of the new ones that they're going to be coming soon. So, to start things off, as always, please save the questions towards the end. But if you choose to go ahead and ask a question, I've got Draven, Sane223, that's in the chat. Draven, go ahead and say hello to everybody in the episode.
Hello, everybody.
And I've got Katie Bree, known as Dizzy Rogue, in the chat channel. Go ahead and say hello.
Hello.
They're going to be keeping an eye on the Twitch chat as we go through this episode. If you guys ask any questions and they respond back in the chat with an answer, go ahead and look at that and take it. Otherwise, they'll take the question down and give it to me at the end of the episode. So let's go ahead and get started here. First thing is first. It was asked last Saturday, what if I've already pre-ordered the game, paid for the game, whatever, on console, and you want to partake in the transfer? Again, just as a quick overview of what that is, basically between now and the end of this month. So you have about 2-3 days at best to take advantage of this. You can purchase the game, Elder Scrolls Online, for PC or Mac. And you have the option to transfer that account. You have to play the game as well before the end of this month, but you can transfer that account from the PC or Mac to Xbox One or PS4 for a $20 transfer fee. You do not have to re-download or repurchase the console game when it comes out. It's a digital download. $20 transfers everything you've done between now and whenever they release the console towards the end of the year. As most of you know, it's been delayed 6 months. And you go to whatever console version you want to play on. They will also give you another month of subscription game time. So the question arose, what if I have already pre-ordered the game for console or purchased the game for console, whatever? So as it stands, right from their support page, it's right in front of you right now. Some of you may have already read it, but let's go ahead and walk through it. What should I do if I pre-ordered ESO on console and wish to take advantage of the PC or Mac transfer? To take advantage of the console transfer offers, players will need to purchase and activate PC or Mac copy of the Elder Scrolls Online prior to the end of June 2014. Players who pre-ordered the Elder Scrolls Online for either PlayStation 4 or Xbox One prior to May 8th, 2014, announcement of the special offer, should proceed with purchasing and activating PC Mac versions of ESO prior to the end of June 2014. Once they have done so, players should contact the ESO support team with proof of their console pre-order. Our support team will work directly with players to ensure who pre-ordered the console version of ESO can take advantage of the special transfer offer while also retaining their Explorer Pack bonuses. In addition, players don't have to pay full price for the game twice for $20. Eligible PC and Mac players will have the option to switch to a full digital version of ESO on the Xbox One or PS4 with their character transfer or transfers and another day of included game time. Make sure to watch our website, social media, Facebook, Google+, Twitter, channels for updates for any additional information on the delay. Please see this blog post, http://elderscrollsonline.com, EN News Post 2014-58 ESO on consoles update. So that is your official answer of what to do if you pre-ordered the console and you want to partake in the transfer. Next, we're going to move into maybe patch 1.2.3. Now this was a live patch that was applied this week to the live servers. It's been in PTS now for about 2 or 3 weeks or so on the PTS, and there's quite a few changes that come to it. I'm going to be covering the biggest stuff in this patch. There's a whole lot more than what I want to cover. It's just massive. So let's go ahead and talk about the first thing. You got the field of view slider. What is the field of view slider? Well, the field of view slider allows players to change their view distance in first person from 70 to 130. At 100 is the default. That's what you've been playing with in first person. This is set at 100 right now. So if you guys are taking a look, right now you can see how much of this room I can see. And I'm looking at this flag. So we're going to see what happens whenever I turn on field of view 100. I am not going to move. So we go into settings, down to camera, and you got this option called field of view. Let's see what it does whenever I go down to 70. And then we turn back around, and as you can see, everything has gotten a lot closer. It brings everything closer to yourself. So if that's the way you want to look at the game, you're more than welcome to do so. But another thing that people asked that they wanted was to be able to see more, and this is really where this thing shines. So we go up to 130 and we spin back around, and we're looking at the flag. Keep in mind I have not moved yet. You can see the pillars to my left and right, more of the ceiling at the top and the bottom. It actually gives some depth to the room as well. So very, very big improvement there for first person, being able to see more. And again, you just go into the settings, down to camera, and right here, field of view, and you can change how much of that you want to see. Next thing that you may see here is they improved interior lighting. Daytime it looks a lot better, but even like with these candles and flames and things like that, they've improved the lighting and shadowing textures of stuff. Very, very great improvement with the lighting for the game that they've changed. And whenever you're inside of these buildings, check out like the windows, glass pane windows and things. It looks a lot better. Next thing is being able to pick up armor and weapons in the game. You can now go over to just about anywhere in the game, really. Just keep your eyes open. You will come across things like this weapon rack. Great sword. I can take this, and this great sword, and these medium chest piece, bracers, guards, that helmet. I can take all this stuff. So that's another thing that they've added. Now these items are white quality items. They are your current veteran rank level or character level, whatever you're looking for. You can pick them up. You can put these things on and use them if you want to put them on and use them, just like that Shadowhide helmet. I just equipped it, and I can use that if I really want to use that. You can take these items and actually improve them. You can take them to a crafting station and use your quality improvement items to make them better, as far as like going from white to green, blue, purple, etc. So it's pretty cool that you can do that. You can also take them to a station and break them down. It will yield you experience or inspiration for breaking them down. It's very small, but you still get some inspiration for that. They sell for 0 gold, but you do have a chance to gain some crafting materials. It's not a big chance, but you still get it. It just basically makes it feel more realistic that that item actually exists in the world. Also, light jerkin under the crafting light crafting table. You can actually craft light jerkins. Now, what does that mean? Well, basically, in layman's terms, it is a shirt. A lot of people, they didn't want to be forced to wear a robe. So what they done is they just took into the crafting. If you go right here, you got your robe. Right beside of that, you got a shirt. And this thing picks up your traits from the chest line. So there's not another set of traits that you have to research. It just bases right off of the chest for the robe. So it's going to allow your people to see pants and things like that. Solo versus group content callouts. Before you enter into a dungeon, you're going to be able to tell, is this a group instanced dungeon, group content, or what? When you look at that door, it's going to say, for instance, Spindle Clutch, group instanced. So you will know that this dungeon is intended for a group of 4, and it's instanced to that group of 4 players. Under the Alliance War, you got Keep Archers now receive upgraded damage abilities via the Keep upgrades. New daily quests have been added for killing enemy classes. These can be found at the bounty boards. They fixed an issue where getting killed while in Cyrodiil could cause you to become desynced from your body. And also under Solaris, that is the 2-week PvP campaign, will now properly reward members from the DC campaign when they place first at the end of the campaign. So apparently they was not getting rewarded appropriately, and that has been fixed. Under art and animation, large bows will no longer clip into your head while you're using it in crouch, while you're crouched in stealth. So what is clipping? Basically what happens is whenever I crouch, the bow would go into my head and just disappear. They fixed that so that it no longer appears like it's going through your character. Audio, a ton of audio fixes and improvements. Again, way too many to go through step by step, but there is a lot of audio fixes. That's on the forums, and I'm going to give you guys the direct way to get to that at the end of these points. Next, under combat and gameplay, these are just some of the things for combat and gameplay. They fixed an issue where abilities that you could interrupt sometimes lacked the visual interrupt cue. So you was not seeing the actual interrupt, and all of a sudden it's just interrupted. Automatic crowd control immunity and crowd control break immunity will now protect you from the same types of CC. Bow heavy attacks will no longer result in zombified monsters. First person camera will no longer jitter when walking backwards while crouched. They also fixed an issue that was causing health bars to become desynced and not display correct values. Also, they reduced the weapon swap cooldown from 1.5 seconds to 0.5 seconds. Now, what does that mean? A lot of people was, complaining that whenever they went to weapon swap, it would take the bar some time to swap over. And there's a little bit of lag there, but that bar is now swapping. Whenever I hit that weapon swap, you can see my bar at the bottom is swapping when it's supposed to be. That's that 0.5 second swap, and they fixed that, and your character swaps to weapons much faster. Very, very good change. Also, just a multitude of other graphical fixes and improvements, tons more that just really I can't go through every one of them because it'd just be an extremely, extremely long episode. I try to keep these things to the point and get the big stuff. Next, and this is one place that I really try to hit home for because it means a lot to a lot of people's, is your classes. And I try to nitpick at all these classes and go through every class fix. So, buckle in. First up, you got the Dragon Knight changes. Dragon Knights out there, listen up. Here we go. Under Ardent Flame, Extended Chains, Fiery Grip Morph. This ability's cost has been decreased. Fiery Grip. This ability will no longer taunt monsters that already have an active taunt on them. Flame Lash, Lava Whip Morph. They increase the damage and healing for this ability's activated follow-up attack. Lastly, under the Ardent Flame, Molten Whip, Lava Whip Morph. This ability's slotted passive only applies to Ardent Flame skill line abilities instead of all fire damage. Under Draconic Power, Choking Talons, you will no longer be charged twice the required magicka amount to use this ability. Dragon Leap, this ability's minimum range requirement has been removed. Burning Talons, Dark Talons Morph, decrease this ability's damage over time duration. Under Earth and Heart tree, you've got this word that I cannot say. Igneous Shield. Hopefully that's right. If it's not, oh well. That's the way I pronounced it. Obsidian Shield Morph. This ability now increases the healing you deal to allies for 5 seconds instead of increasing your shield value. Igneous Shield, Obsidian Shield Morph. This ability's healing buff no longer stacks. Lastly, under Earth and Heart, Petrify. This ability now damages enemies when that was terrible. Petrify. This ability now damages enemies when the effect ends. Sounded better. Welcome to live. Under Nightblade changes. So there you go. That's your Dragon Knights out of the way. We're moving on into Nightblade. So Nightblades out there, listen up. Here we go. Under Assassination. Assassin's Blade. This ability's visual effects are now easier to see. Incapacitate. Haste Morph. This ability now increases heavy attack damage. Master Assassin. This passive ability now increases spell power in addition to weapon power. Its stun duration increase has also been added to the tooltip. Lastly, under Assassination, Reaper's Mark. Mark Target Morph. This ability's weapon and spell damage buff no longer stacks with itself. The duration of the damage buff will now just refresh upon each kill. Under Shadow, Path of Darkness. This ability can now be seen by all other players. Also fixed an issue where it was ticking more times than intended on the target. Refreshing Path. This ability now will heal your allies, and the healing done has been slightly increased. Refreshing Shadows. This passive ability is now always active and no longer requires you to use another ability. Lastly, under Shadow, Shadow Cloak. This ability can now be cast when you have less than 35% of your magicka. Additionally, using this ability while a monster is taunted will now cause it to attack a different target. Siphoning Tree. Leeching Strikes. Siphoning Strikes Morph. The tooltip for this ability now shows the correct percentage of health recovery. Magicka Flood. This ability now correctly increases your maximum magicka. Siphoning Strikes. This ability now restores slightly less resources and will no longer desync your resource bars upon use. Soul Siphon, Soul Shred Morph. Edited the tooltip for this ability so it's more consistent with all other tooltips and fixed an issue so the upgrade tooltip now states that it does less damage than the intended ability. And lastly, under Strife, under the Siphoning Tree, they fixed an issue where the red glow from this ability would last longer than intended. Next, we're going into Sorcerer, and there's some pretty big changes here that Sorcerers, you need to pay attention. Big time. First, Dark Magic, Crystal Blast, Crystal Shard Morph increased this ability's area of effect damage. Crystal Fragments, the sound and visual effects that indicate this ability Crystal Fragments, the sound and visual effects that indicate this ability can be cast instantly are more noticeable. There we go. Dark Deal, Dark Exchange Morph. You can now move while channeling this ability. The increase to your armor and spell resistance has also been removed from this ability. Lastly, Restraining Prison, Rune Prison Morph. When this ability is removed from one player character, it no longer removes the graphics from other targets. This right here is where the big changes comes in for the Sorcerer, and it's under Daedric Summoning. General Summoning Improvements. Your pets will now stealth with you when you initially crouch. Thank you. Next, your pets can now be given a target to attack. Yes, you're in control of how your pets interact. So how's this done? Press Y and left-click your mouse to have them attack a target. Press Y and right-click on your mouse to have them to return to you. So that's a very big improvement right there. Next, Storm Atronach pet will now cancel his cast when you tell him to switch targets. He can also switch targets faster which will result in slightly increased damage. And then lastly, under the summoning for the initial improvements, is your pets will no longer aggro other enemies while you are mounted. Also under Daedric Summoning, here's some of the changes that they've done. Rebate updated this abilities tooltip to state that pets restoring magicka when they die or when you unsummon them. Hardened Ward Conjure Ward Morph. This ability now has a unique icon. Summon Storm Atronach. The charged lightning synergy associated with this ability now adds 150% bonus damage instead of a flat 150 damage. Volatile Familiar, the last thing in the Daedric Summoning tree. This ability's tooltip now mentions it also explodes when unsummoned. Last thing for sorcerers is Storm Calling tree. Disintegrate edited the tooltip for this ability, so now it shows the damage value. Endless Fury, Mage's Fury Morph, fixed an issue where this ability was not properly restoring magicka when it landed the killing blow on an enemy. Lightning Form, this ability now deals damage at every tick. Lightning Splash added the tooltips to more accurately reflect the damage dealt. Overload significantly increased the light attack damage and cost for this ability. Rod the lightning is what they say. Power Overload. This no longer uses the same ability bar as the werewolf. So that's it for you sorcerers out there. Last but not least, we got Templar changes. So let's fly through these and we'll continue on to wrap up patch 1.2.3. Need to make sure I don't log out on you guys here because I do have some other stuff to show you. Templar changes. Adric Spear. Blazing Spear. Spear Shards Morph. Moderately increase this ability's damage over time. Empowering Sweep. Radial Sweep Morph. This ultimate ability now gives 15% damage reduction and plus 4% damage reduction for each target hit instead of increasing your armor. Focus Charge. We have made this ability's tooltip clearer. It now states that it only stuns the target that are casting. Piercing Spear. This passive now adds a melee critical strike in addition to a spell critical strike when using spear abilities. Puncturing Strikes increase the overall damage for this ability by 10% and increase the damage to the closest target from 100% to 110%. The bonus damage to the closest target will no longer randomly deal double the intended damage. Puncturing Strikes ranks 3 and 4. The final hit now play impact sounds. Puncturing Sweep, Puncturing Strikes Morph. This ability will now heal you based on the damage done. And lastly, under Adric Spear, you've got Spear Shards. This ability will no longer disorient targets that roll dodge. Under Dawn's Wrath, Blinding Flashes, Blinding Light Morph. They increase this ability's duration. Also, monsters knocked off balance by the blinding flashes will only display their knockback animation once. Blinding Light, missing a bash attack while under the effects of Blinding Light will now set the target off balance. Dark Flare, Solar Flare Morph. This ability now scales in damage from ranks 1 to 4. Nova, this ability can now deal critical strikes and damage per tick has been increased by 20%. Searing Light, increase this ability's damage. Solar Disturbance, Nova Morph, they said this ability now scales in damage from ranks 1 to 4 and now snares your targets by 60% at all ranks. Solar Flare, they slightly increased the cast time for this ability from slightly reduced. Solar Flare slightly reduced the cast time for this ability from 1.5 seconds to 1.3 seconds. Lastly, under Dawn's Wrath, Sunfire. This ability's damage over time now lasts 1 additional second and deals 10% more damage. And lastly, under the Templar's Restoring Light, Cleansing Ritual. Decrease this ability's particle effects in an effort to make other effects easier to see. So Cleansing Ritual, they made the particle effects and decreased the ability's particle effects in order to so that you can see other effects going on easier. It was too flashy. Period. Cleansing Ritual was too flashy, so they decreased its particles. That's what I meant to say. That's what I did say, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. God. We're getting there. Hang in. Remembrance, Rite of Passage, Morph. The damage reduction buff now persists for the duration of the channel. The tooltip has been updated to reflect this. Repentance, Restoring Aura Morph. This ability's beam effect no longer plays a second time if you reapproach the corpse after being out of range. Rite of Passage. This ultimate's ability is now capable of critical strikes and will make you immune to crowd control while channeling it. And lastly, Ritual of Rebirth. This ability now heals you, the caster, for the same value as the other morph, Lingering Ritual. And just a handful more of changes with the patch 1.2.3, and then I'll show off the last little thing for the episode, and we'll take some questions. Death Recap. New hints have been added to the Death Recap. Attacks will no longer say they were performed by offline in the Death Recap. The Death Recap potion hint will now properly display if your potion was not on cooldown, and they fixed several instances where abilities displayed as an incorrect name in the Death Recap. Under Crafting and Economy, they fixed an issue with enchanting runestone tooltips, so they no longer repeat themselves. They improved the chance that Tier 3 Woodworker, Blacksmith, and Clothier hirelings will have at least one blue level improvement material. And Alchemy Solvents now display their proper level or veteran rank level. Dungeons and Trials, again, a lot of fixes and improvements under Dungeons and Trials. So whenever I go through how to get to these changes, you can check all of those out in the patch notes, but there are a lot. Miscellaneous, you can now only delete a limited number of characters per day. So no more just creating a free character, doing whatever, and then deleting it, doing it again and deleting it. You only have so many deletes that you can do per day, so if you can't delete a character for some reason, that's probably why. Objects in the world will no longer objects in the world will now load more smoothly while riding on horseback. Inviting other player characters into large groups who are in different zones will no longer cause desyncing issues or disconnects from the game. They remove the option to quick slot repair kits as it was not functional. Quest, again, tons of quest fixes, zone fixes, and things like that. Way too many to sit here and go through. I've already been talking long enough through this stuff, and now you see why I cut some of this stuff out and not going over it. UI, Guild Store. It's now possible to filter by veteran rank in the Guild Store. The button appears to the left of the level range label. When clicked, it will change the level range to VR range. Weapons and armor can now be filtered by trait. Crafting materials can now be filtered more easily. This update adds support for the more detailed criteria when looking for an item for a given profession. Example, a blacksmith. You can now specify what you're looking for relative to blacksmith motifs, style, materials, and specific armors and weapons traits, raw materials, refined materials for a specific armor or weapon trait, raw materials, refined materials, and tempers. Very, very detailed into how you can filter. Food will no longer list in two places in the filters. It now only shows up in consumable category. Under maps, the map pins for other characters in your group will now appear in their proper locations. They also fixed an issue in various areas where quest pins would not match up between the map and the compass. And lastly, the new veteran rank dungeon, which was actually at the top of it, but I wanted to put it at the bottom of it just because this place looks so damn cool when you're running up to it. So we're going to warp over here real quick. While I'm warping, all of these patch notes, guys, can be found on forums.elderscrollsonline.com. Just click on the patch notes section for what I'm going over right here. You can find these on patch 1.2.3, and it's listed there if you want to get down to the nitty gritty. I know I've talked for about 20 minutes on this thing, and this is just the highlights of it. But this is the new veteran rank dungeon that they have introduced with this patch, and it is called Veteran Rank Crypt of Hearts. This dungeon is intended for veteran rank 12 players. I've heard a few of the guys going through this dungeon already, and they say it's definitely difficult. It is not a pushover. You do need to be paying attention to what's going on with the mechanics around you and stuff like that. So if you guys want to check this thing out, right here you go. Crypt of Hearts group. We can go ahead and head into this place. And it is no joke, seriously. I done some PTS testing on it, and it's, yeah, they're going in the right way with these dungeons. So there you go, guys.
I'm the one you want.
I don't know how you lot escaped from torture.
That is
Will resume.
veteran rank Crypt of Hearts. That's what you get to see for that.
Help yourself, wretch.
Wait.
See. Oh, there they go. Got some ads coming up here. Veteran rank 12 ads. Yeah. No joke. And I got one last thing that I want to show off here. I think this was a video that really got overlooked. Apparently, it's a couple weeks old. This is creating ESO veteran rank dungeons. And we'll let this play through. So currently, you have 7 veteran rank dungeons in Elder Scrolls Online. These dungeons include veteran rank 1 through 5. You've got Banished Cells, Fungal Grotto, and Spindle Clutch. Veteran rank 5 through 10, you have Elden Hollow, Darkshade Caverns, and Wayrest Sewers. Veteran rank 10 to 12, Crypt of Hearts that I just showed you. And coming up soon, you're going to see it right here, veteran rank City of Ash. Very awesome. So that's just a preview of what you guys have coming towards Elder Scrolls Online. And, you know, it's episode number 25. Episode number 25, ESO recapped right there, guys. So very, very cool stuff. I hope it, you guys really, really did enjoy this episode. It gives you some ideas of what ZeniMax has been doing on the back end stuff with these updates. You guys are welcome to ask any kind of questions about this episode now.
Hey, wake up.
Katie Bree or Sane, did you guys see any kind of questions that came through that needs to be answered by myself?
User in your channel timed out.
Landikin was helping us out on that, but none really a whole lot. I mean, Hobo asked about the scrolls, but there really isn't much information on the scrolls themselves.
What kind of question for the scrolls?
Give me 1 second, let me scroll back up. Why are the scrolls so important?
The scrolls, what they do, if you go into the Alliance War bonuses, and you scroll down here to the bottom, you have offensive and defensive scrolls. Each alliance has 2 scrolls. They have an offensive scroll and a defensive scroll. So controlling these scrolls will buff your alliance the more scrolls that you control. Like if you have more defensive scrolls, you get more defensive bonuses. 1 and 2 right here. So you want to control these scrolls so that you get this armor rating and the spell resistance and armor rating. And also same thing with the offensive scrolls. You get spell power increased, and then you also get weapon power and spell power increased. That's really the big driving force behind controlling these scrolls. And if you hold all the scrolls, you can expect the other alliances to come knocking at your door wanting them back. Definitely. The way that you control them is just simply in Cyrodiil. You see up here we control 2. Daggerfall Covenant controls their offensive and defensive scroll as well. And the Aldebaran Dominion, they control their offensive and defensive scroll as well. So if we manage to go down to AD and steal their scroll, we would have to bring it back up. We can't plant it at our temples, our scroll temples. That's where our home campaign scrolls go to. But we can park them at any keep that we control. So if we stole this scroll here, we could park it over here at Blackboot if we wanted to, but we want to bury this thing as far back up into our territory as possible. So taking it to like Farragut Keep, then Kingcrest, Arius Keep, things like that. We want these to hold scrolls first, and then we'll have one of these outer keeps control the next one, or possibly even up here at Dragonclaw or whatever. It's strategic on where you place these things, but the thing is, the further out you move these things, the bigger risk that you're running of losing that scroll easier, because the Alliance doesn't have to run as far to get it and take it back to their own home campaign. Is there any other questions that you guys have out there in Twitch? Or I guess I covered everything pretty clear. That'll put you all to sleep one, I don't know. I know there's a lot of content to cover, and I try my best to make sure that I cover the biggest changes for these things, because these big patch updates like 1.1, 1.2, they're huge updates, and there's just so much information to cover. If I went through every single little bitty change in these things, we'd be in here for an hour and a half going through changes. And as I'm doing it, it's still like a 45 minute episode. Bradish Mink asked, do you think they'll ever make Daedric armor red and black like in the Elder Scrolls games? It seems like every high level armor has a blue theme. The answer to that, yes. And the reason that that's going to happen is because of the armor die system. Let me go ahead and pull that up. And yes, that's right. I did say armor die system. I don't want y'all to know my birth date, so you're going black for a minute. Let's see, where was it? I think it's in this road ahead right here. Yep. Right there you go. That is the armor die system that ZeniMax is currently working on, and this has been set for next month. The sometime in July, patch 1.3 is going to be coming down, and this is going to be in it. And the way that the armor die system is going to work is it's going to be tied to achievement points. So your achievement points is not going to be just some random useless achievement that you get and it's like, okay, I got it, now what do I get for it? It's not going to be like that. They're going to use these achievements that you're getting to allow you to get more armor dies. And as you can see, if you ever play Guild Wars 2, it looks very, very similar to that. You got like the main armor color here, which would be black. And then you got red, which is like the secondary armor color. And you have gold, which is like the trim work around the armor. So yeah, you could get Daedric and make it black and red if that's what you wanted. You could do black here, and then just have red trim around it, or whatever you want to do. And you can see that there are a lot of different hues of colors and ranges. I have no idea what these tools are here, so it's going to be interesting to see what these tools actually do and how you can use them. But this is just some very early changes. If you noticed some of the stuff about this, is you've got a who's that following? Reaper Gaming, thank you for the follow, my new follower. You got a die table behind him here. I don't know the significance that that's going to have. If you have to be at a die table to be able to dye your armor, or if it's just a change on the go, if there's going to be reagents required for it. We don't know none of the specifics about this stuff. So it's definitely interesting what they've got going on here. And I can't wait to see more about it. So hopefully that answers that question. Is there anybody else out there that has any other questions before I wrap this episode up? Bradish says, that looks awesome, thank you. One more question, do you think they'll plan on introducing a smaller scale PvP? I was thinking something like an arena from Oblivion. This is something that a lot of people has said they want in the game. I think eventually we're going to see it, because there's just such a big outcry for it, for competitiveness and things like that. The thing is, it has to be done right. Cyrodiil plays such a big role in the way that PvP works, and it takes a lot of attention to do that. And if they stick an arena in that anybody can go to it, it will pull away from Cyrodiil more than likely. Cyrodiil runs off of having a lot of people in there, and if you don't have the numbers in there, it just doesn't work the way that it should. So I know that they're looking at doing some changes with the PvP system and the number of campaigns and the duration, things like that. It's going to be really interesting to see what they come up with. I do have some suggestions myself that they can do. Just throwing some ideas at them, to say, hey, here's my thoughts of it. Take what you want, leave what you don't. Leave everything out if you want to, but that's what we need to be doing as players, is going to ZeniMax and saying, hey, I would love to see this. This is why I would love to see this, and this is how I would do this. And, try to keep in mind of how the game's designed, how would it affect other systems if you brought it in the way that you're suggesting. How would it affect PvP? How would it affect PvE? A lot of people's wanted to see, open world, true open world, all across Tamriel, being able to fight. How does that affect PvP? How does it affect PvE and people trying to quest and things like that? So be open-minded whenever you start suggesting things. Really put some thought behind what you're telling ZeniMax, because these guys do listen. They take the feedback and suggestions very seriously from players. Nicodemus is asking, when does this go live? Talking about the armor die systems, I will presume that's going to be sometime in July. We don't have an exact date, though. And Lucky Penny says they did have 3v3 at E3. Yes, they did. ZeniMax was very, very quick to say that it is not guaranteed that a dueling system is in the works to be released or anything like that. It was just to simply preview how combat in Cyrodiil could look. And it's very possible to get in 3v3 battles like that in Cyrodiil. But yeah, a lot of people thought, oh, this is a guaranteed, we got dueling coming and things like that, which I think it's coming anyways. It's just ZeniMax is going to take their time with it before they actually push something like that out. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead, wrap up this episode. You guys that are in the Twitch, I very much appreciate everybody tuning out very much appreciate Katie and Sane staying in here, monitoring the chat, keeping up with stuff. So very, very big thank you to all of you guys for tuning in, keeping up with the chat, and all that stuff. I will be back shortly with this stream. It's going to come right back up. I'm going to keep playing Elder Scrolls Online, just doing what I do on my stream. So give me just a few minutes to get all this closed out, and then we'll bring it back up. Continue streaming. By all means, thank you for the follow, Bradish Mink. New follower. By all means, stick around. Keep asking questions about the game, because that is what my stream is about, is viewer interaction, questions, answers, talking about the game, weighing in about stuff that you like or dislike. Opinions are welcome. So, if you're new to the game, that's fine. That's the reason I stream, is to try to help those types of people out. And if you're an expert at the game, great. You might be able to help me out. Torn Soul, thank you for the follow. Let's go ahead and get this episode closed out. And again, guys, thank you very, very much for being here. If you want any more information about the Elder Scrolls Online, visit elderscrollsonline.com for more information. If you want any information about my YouTube channel or my Twitch channel, of course, since we're live right now, twitch.tv/Devatank is where that's at. But if you're watching this on the replay of YouTube, youtube.com/Devatank, now you know what my stream channel is. Come over and say hello and hang out. Very, very much appreciate all you guys. And that is a wrap for episode number 25.